pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I'm going to take my mask off because we're socially distanced. I'm going to start this meeting at 6 o'clock. Can I get a roll call, please?
Michael Casher.
Present.
Thomas Wood. Here. Meg LaFay.
Here.
Barbara Hebert.
Here.
Charles Costa.
Here.
James J. Coffey.
Here.
And I am present, Kevin Taco.
I see no one here for public comment. Just as a reminder that we continue to use the best practices as recommended through the Clinton County Health Department and other organizations, being that we're socially distant, that the room has made accommodations for the public to attend for public comment and participation. But obviously the room still looks a little, different. So I appreciate everybody's patience with that. As I've been doing through COVID-19, just want to give you a couple of quick updates as it relates here to Town Hall. This space is being used daily for the department head huddles, or as some of our department heads like to refer to it as the video of sorts. And today I had shared that we were anticipating going into phase 3. Later in the day, the governor did make the announcement that we are going to phase 3 starting tomorrow. So we continue to advance forward. We also are starting to see a number of advisories, directives, and guidance documents come out in between the phases, which I think is very positive, is that we're not waiting until the very final moments, because I know people are tired. People are frustrated, and and I share in that as well. And I don't want to waste time, thumping my own chest on my frustrations. I want to just keep implementing things to keep people safe, but also to get things moving forward. So some of the documents that we received, I did share it with Meg and Chuck about recreation. I did, when we get down to a little bit further, I'd like to have a conversation about a couple of items as it relates to recreation, because we're starting to see some flex on it. So let's talk about it. Doesn't mean we have to adopt it right away, but I think it being a work session. The department heads continue to have conversations regarding their budgets. I just had a conversation with Mel, Trevor, and Tim. So there's a large focus on managing expectations and the work that needs to be done this year. I don't have a lot of details on this, so I'm just putting it out there verbally so that you are aware of it. And I would strongly encourage the related committees to know about it or to investigate it further. The highway department, as we know, last year, and last year wasn't really that long ago if you think about it, there was an issue with the lifts, the truck lift. That needs to be addressed, and Tim has been doing some good work to try to figure out a method to move forward. It is a hefty price tag.
It is.
I mean, so when we talk about essential, when you've got a lot of heavy equipment that needs to be fixed, that's essential.
And that has been identified by the safety committee.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I was going to intersect it with, there's other committees that are, and the reason I bring it to your attention is he is actively working on getting some numbers. And don't be shocked if in the coming weeks we are asked to make some determinations on that. And we're probably talking, low end 50,000, if not more. So again, he's looking at some numbers. He's looking at the state contract process. So we're not looking for the the RFPs and so on and so forth, because it would be through state bidding process.
But just as a follow-up, the lift that's out there right now is not available for use. Is
That's
that
correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So that, if they have to work on a big piece of equipment, it has to be farmed out, basically.
It's going to be farmed out, but it's going to be done through shared services with another municipality. And, you know, it's all those things that you just, you know,
Yeah,
and the biggest concern is the winter, okay? Because when things break down, it's usually on the coldest night of the night of the winter, you know, and
the plows don't tend to break down this time of year.
yeah. So again, just wanted to put that out to you, and I would strongly encourage the highway committee to touch base with Tim. And that's not just highway either. That's what we use for all of our vehicles. So just 'cause it is
But just to emphasize, it's a good thing you brought it up. Tim has been trying to look at other
Yep.
options. When I talked to him over the last several months, so it wasn't really the pandemic necessarily, but he was now coming to us with this. He had done some, so he's been exploring all along.
Yeah.
So,
Another quick update, it looks like our CHIPS funding will only be coming in at 80%. So it's a bigger reduction than what was anticipated. You know, we just continue to identify and move on. He is working on itemizing what roads and shoulders and stuff to work on, so I would imagine in the next week or two, he'll have that before us as well, so.
Did you think it was 15%? So it's actually 20?
We originally thought it was gonna be 8%.
Oh, 8%. I got 15, sorry.
Yeah, AOT, and I think Cornell Cooperative Paving something or other, I believe both of those organizations thought that it was gonna come in originally at 8%, and, you know, the governor has said, hold back 20. We may get more later on, I'm doubtful, to be frank, but the numbers that we've been given to work with is 80%, so.
I think 80's better than nothing, and
Yeah.
probably is better than we could have
Yep.
done.
And, you know,
All
and,
things considered.
and as we talked about this before, this is where you're gonna start seeing those impacts, right? State aid
Absolutely.
across the board. So, and the reason I share it with you is you folks need to hear it. I want the public to understand the relationship that we have with the county, you know, the state and the federal government, and there's more impacts to come. The last thing that I will place as a reminder is, I didn't want to have to do this, because I thought I had it committed to memory. June 23rd is the presidential primary. The primary is being held two ways, but you can only vote once. I think it's important to note that. The request for absentee ballot, you know, mailed in process, or people can come and vote in person. This is the polling location. For the safety of our staff members, they will get a wash for that day, as we've done for the general election. But I have worked with the Board of Election to do a deep decon of the building. In addition to building and grounds, they will be doing a deep, so we'll have a couple of process in here, but this is the space that they'll be using.
They won't have all of the district right here, right?
I
They'll use the whole building?
believe that, I'd have to check my, any notes that I may have written down, but I believe all districts will be here, Tom.
Amen.
So, well, and the other part to it is now that they're using that, basically, I can't think of the name of it, it's like, you know, you come in and they print the ballot type thing, they're using that new system. They feel that they need a much smaller footprint too. It'll be interesting to see who wants to step up and be poll workers. I mean, there's some people that, it's a long day as it is now, with the masking, with, you know, interaction with the public. That's why I am recommending that people use the afforded tools to them to use the absentee balloting process.
With the only
And-
election being one that's already been decided, people might not come.
Yes, I mean, so there's a number of things. And
And there is early voting.
there is early voting.
I see
I mean,
there's-
there's a number of things and ways that people can engage in that process. I was personally frustrated that, you know, it went through like these dips and dives multiple times, and then I think there's tons of confusion out there still. I was also very happy that the county ledge made the appointment, because that would have been something that could have impacted us from a financial standpoint, because they probably were unlikely to do it during the presidential primary. I mean, there's tons of things that are going on there, so. But those are the big COVID response things. Just wanted to give you a heads up. And for draft consideration, we have minutes, monthly reports. We have 2 items that relate to the mausoleum. We're now in the process of where we had talked about, we can take a portion of the funds that were received when the Whispering Maples was not abandoned, what do you call it?
Well, it's taken over, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, but the corporation was basically shut down though,
Yeah.
right? So those assets were split between the 2 municipalities, Ellenburg and the town of Plattsburgh. And from that, we can take some of those funds that we use the consultant to pay ourselves back for that portion. And then the rest of those funds would go into the perpetual care fund. So they couldn't be used for other purposes. They would only be allowed to be used for the mausoleum. The idea is to protect those funds for that.
So
Particular.
that $44,000 is what we've expended, or that's just part of what we expended?
Nope, so remember, all of the expenses for the consultant were split between our 2 municipalities. So it was, you know, it was higher than that. It was probably closer to 80, but our share is about the 44,000. Yeah.
Is Connie the consultant?
No, it was Dave Fleming.
Oh, okay.
So Dave Fleming was the individual that helped to get us into the room with the comptroller and even working with Senator Little and the Assemblywoman and then Assemblyman Jones, because they needed some guidance on how to get particular state laws to be written, and so he was very, very helpful. Money well worth.
Oh, yeah. And he came to Ellenburg, came to
Yep.
Plattsburgh, checked everything out first, and he said,
Yep, he was at the Association of Towns. He is a subject expert that people rely on over and over and over again. And he's a town supervisor himself, actually.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the big thing that I would remind folks is that when we were entering into this uncharted territory 5 years ago, the state was about to drop it and run.
he
So,
did drop it.
you know, we,
Hey,
yeah,
go to the bank and take this money out.
But what we
He said,
did-
you got the bank accounts down.
well, what we did though is we punched above our weight though. We advocated in a way that if we had just received it, we never would have received the upgrades to the building that needed to get done. We would have never received any perpetual care funds. I mean, we truly would have been out on our own. So yes, we had to spend some money, but now we're gonna be able to recoup some of that through, you know, the process that they used to dismantle.
And there was another town, same situation, they just took it over, never asked a question.
Wow.
Yeah.
Terrible burden.
So just for clarity, the 196, the 44 has already come out of that 196.
That's
That
correct, yeah.
96 is the remainder of the voting
Yeah.
reserve
Yeah.
fund. Does that have to be a specialized reserve fund at all?
It is.
Well,
I mean, this is what we're doing with this resolution, we're establishing a reserve fund,
Okay.
and we're saying that Patrick will kind of control it, and he'll have to report to the board regarding the expenditures made and so forth, and it can't be used for anything else, other than equipment and basically maintaining monuments.
anything that the mausoleum covers.
Well, and the only reason I asked that is I remember one of the groups at the Association of Towns was actually a company that's what they specialize in, is funds for cemeteries
Yeah.
and mausoleums, so I didn't know. Okay.
And according to this, we have to authorize, the board has to authorize any expenditure.
Correct.
And the revised draft, the only thing that was changed was the 190, it went from 19,600 to 196,000.
It was
Yes.
never 19,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think that's.
Jim submitted it to Deborah, and I wanna thank Jim for working on this, so.
No,
Well,
it was
It's
all,
just that that's what it said on the one I had.
no, you're right, but that was a misprint, it was
Yes,
just,
that's what I thought.
yeah, it was just a
Just
number.
wanted to make sure.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
In this, Jim, we can authorize payment from it, it's not like a permissive referendum or anything like that.
It is a permissive referendum.
It is?
Oh,
Says it at the
so,
bottom.
yeah, subject to this or
Okay,
It's subject to, I don't think anybody's gonna challenge it,
okay.
or I don't think anybody's gonna, they could,
But if we go to pull funds, then we would have to advertise, et cetera, or not?
No, well, I'm just saying this, the establishment of the.
Oh, okay, is
The-
it permissive, the establishment, okay, okay.
One of the things that we want to do with this fund that was critical advice from David and Connie was protect these funds at all
Oh,
costs.
yes, absolutely.
Because you don't wanna get 10 years out, maybe we're not all here, and somebody goes, oh, look, there's $120,000 sitting there, you know, we're gonna do an upgrade at town hall from those funds, because then the state of New York's gonna turn around and say, you were not good fiscal agents,
No, absolutely.
and now you're not gonna be able to be eligible for additional funds through the division of cemeteries.
And these funds will be subject to audit,
Oh, yeah.
process, which are friendly, I think.
You mean,
Along that line too, I know there's been some discussion, I don't know exactly what we would call it, a Friends of Fund, or, you know, and I know that we've discussed it previously, Michael,
Yeah.
because I have had a couple of people that came to me and said, you know, I have a relative, you know, at the mausoleum, we would love to be able to spend some money to make sure that, you know, that facility stays
I
the way
can,
that it is.
I can tell you where I've been with it on, because I've been kind of working on it on the side of things. Dave Fleming said to me directly, he said, we're both in the same boat with this COVID stuff. He goes, if you don't mind holding off for a little bit, he goes,
Okay.
I'll get you some documents and give you some advice and stuff. And I
Okay.
said, perfect, because
It's
it's
just-
one of those things where I think we're gonna need a work group, and I think we need to limit it to a group of probably 5 people. And then, you know, make that as an opportunity and stuff like that, but yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, if anybody asks, I'll just say.
And there is a tab on the website now, there's not a lot of information on it. It has just a picture, but the rules and procedures and a number of things will be going on the website as well, so you can direct people there.
Okay, perfect.
So when you say work group, talk about, it's like one of our committees, we select some people and they sort of
Yeah.
handle it?
They would be advisory in nature, and really the idea is, say that you have an aunt, Tom, and your aunt passed away, and she wanted to leave a portion of her estate, those individuals would be helpful as, you know, kind of community agents to help advise, to make sure that the funds are being used appropriately, et cetera. So,
Kevin, thanks for your help. You have to be the gatekeeper, custodian.
Well, the thing is, I try to answer questions for the questions that people call, and mainly it's been reassuring that, you know, that a lot of it, it's gonna be actually much better now. It's gonna be administered better, it's gonna be looked after better, it's just gonna be a much nicer place for their.
Well, they have somebody that can drive in, park in the parking lot, talk to somebody,
Yeah.
too, which they haven't been able to do in quite a number of years.
and B&G's been doing a great job. I mean, just
Oh,
making
yeah,
sure that it's.
for a lot of positives.
Funny story, the guys were out there mowing, and someone pulled over and said, your lawn work's phenomenal. Like, do you have a card? And I think it was Dick actually, and he was like, no, I work for the town of Plattsburgh. And he was like, well, do you do lawns on the side type of thing? And so, you know, and they understand.
There's a way to generate revenue.
They understand
I
the
think that's called
importance
outside
of the
employment.
importance of it, which is great though,
Yeah.
because, you know, everything that we do, you know, we have a responsibility to the public, but they understand that this is about folks, parents and grandparents and, you know, the
Rick-
sensitivity of it.
And I know Rick has in discussions that we had, he's had some experience at the St. Peter's
Yeah.
Cemetery, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so he was very familiar with it, and, you know, good.
So, the accept and adopt the town of Plattsburgh, this is a draft resolution. I sent you, did everybody receive it?
Yes.
It's quite long, I didn't have a chance to read the whole
It's the
thing.
employee doc, it's the employee handbook.
I haven't
Oh,
been.
yeah.
It's very lengthy, I apologize, I think it's like 50 or 60 or 70 pages.
I know you said we were
It's an
going to,
important document, so I
It is.
printed it out,
Yeah.
and you're gonna be open and available for
Yeah,
questions.
I-
It's a good start.
and it's not to say that I don't wanna use this platform to do it, but it's probably a lot easier to schedule an appointment with me or Pat to go over stuff.
Okay.
So that we can kind of dig into the nuances of things. The document that you have in front of you, and this is the most critical piece of information that I can give you about this document. Ronnie has prepared the language Ronnie has reviewed our policies and procedures as we've adopted them and is recommending this as a wholesale document. And what I mean by that is you may look at a line and go, geez, I just don't like that language. A lot of the language that's in there is adopted through lifting it from civil service or other things. And her recommendation is you can get yourself into trouble by changing words in the slightest way, because it can potentially change the character of the document. So just please keep that in mind, because I know all of us, you know, I'm not the biggest wordsmith, and you know, I think of you, Tom, and you make, you know, very good at it. If you have questions about it and you're concerned, I can bring it to her attention, but there are some areas that she has said, I've done this with, you know, X number of municipalities, they have changed something, then we've had an issue, and one sentence was a factor of somebody not being able to be held accountable. So you kind of learn through that experience. The document overall really recodifies the positions of most of what we've already been doing. It's much simpler to read. It highlights the materials that we need, but we've also had an upgrade in some document or policies like the social media policy. It will also be given to every employee, and they will be required to sign off on it too. So this is one of those keystone issues that we've been working on, and I don't want to make it seem like to you or the public that we have problems with our employees. It's about their knowledge and protection as much as anything else too. It's when a new employee comes in, we can hand them and say, these are what your expectations are. In concert with that, we are also developing a new employee orientation program. Not that we anticipate that we'll be hiring anybody new soon, but we want to be able to very succinctly, you know, walk people through that experience and make sure that they understand what's expected of them. Okay. Sorry it's taken longer than I would have liked, but it's.
Does it include like cybersecurity?
It has some portions of it, yeah.
So if we find something else that we don't have a policy for, we set a policy, it can be added later?
It can be an.
Because you said this is a whole document, we don't want to change it.
It can be an addendum. There's periods, and I'll give you a great example, Tom. If the family leave changed, we could change a portion of it much more succinctly than we have in the past. Or say that we decide that for ever and a day, we felt that we need to have a policy that everybody wears masks because, you know, we need to have a hardline policy. We could adopt something like that. These are more the backbone policies though, and there's some things that she's advised that we don't need in the employee handbook because guidance is different than employee handbook expectations. It's a finer line. So. Any questions about that? Again, I just wanted to give you that and you know, have a chance to take a look at it. I don't anticipate it being on the agenda next week. I don't think that's fair to you all, but I wanted to at least get a placeholder for the draft. So I asked Deborah to help get that in there. Okay, just so you know that in another week or two, so I'd like to try to get it moving forward. Committee reports. Does anybody have anything they want to share? Any?
Tom, talk about the
Yeah, well, we're just,
the process
as
for
far
the
as
planning board.
people to appoint, you know, the volunteer applications that we've got in, there's 4.
Okay.
And we're in the process of looking at them, and we haven't got any recommendation this time.
Michael, what's your position on being here with the town? The person's comfortable?
Yeah, we can certainly work it. What I would like to do is using the dividing table, if you could keep them on the south section of that table. If you folks stay on this side, I don't see a problem with that. So.
Is that something we schedule, how far in advance do you schedule that?
Talk to Deborah and we'll try to do our best. You know, it's a little bit fluid right now, but the sooner you can do it, the better.
Chances are it'll be after 3 o'clock.
Yeah, then it'll be less of a concern then.
Tom, I'll take the.
Other than for planning boards and you know, like
Yeah.
your regular, you know, our standing committees, yeah.
I'll take the action on that, Tom.
Anything for rec? I mean, I know I wanna go back to a couple of topics, but I didn't know if you folks had anything.
Yeah, we had a meeting Tuesday, or something like that. We're working on a handful of things right now. Tim did actually call me today, the rest of the tennis nets are up, pickleball nets are up at Cliff Haven. So they have, everything, every breaker that could be turned on has been turned on, basically. Couple of things that they're working on are restrooms. Katyville Beach, Katyville Rec Park in East Morrisonville. They're making sure the water's turned on, getting geared up, making sure that Tony's gonna be available to clean. We may switch that breaker on Monday, even, open them back up, so that they're available. There's been a lot of kayakers, et cetera, tons of people at Katyville Beach, so I think if we get a restroom open for them, that's gonna be good. Katyville Rec Park also with the disc golf, the trails, et cetera, that's probably the most utilized park that we have, so those two are real important to kick on. Dog Park Pond is another one, but we've run into a few speed bumps there that are gonna kind of hold that up until we figure out exactly what's going on there. Water's low, so we're having trouble getting water to it. And certainly don't want to pump water from the top of
One of the things that, has come out in the new guidelines is playground equipment can open,
Okay.
based on the individual municipalities', willingness, for lack of a better term. My recommendation is that we, if we're gonna start unfreezing things on Monday, that we open the playground equipment, to the responsibility of the individual user. And my recommendation would also be to add the disc golf baskets at this
I
point.
was just gonna say the same thing, if we're gonna open
Yeah.
the playground equipment, we should put the baskets.
Yeah,
back.
along with swings and, you know, other amenities. What I've also recommended to Mel, she and I were talking earlier, is to do a Facebook Live possibly from one of the parks
Okay.
with the health department, where they talk about how things have reopened, but things that people can do to still protect themselves with these new, and I wouldn't say they're new individual responsibilities or renewed individual responsibilities. You know, wash your hands, you know, use sanitizer, if something doesn't look safe, you know, just little things like that. And also, it may be an opportunity to talk about some amenities that people don't even know are there. Facebook Lives have been really popular, and I think it would be beneficial for it to be through the lens of the town, but also with a county health official.
I think that would be good, and one of the things that we did challenge, the rec folks with was Facebook. And they've done a really good job. I don't know if anybody's looked at the Town of Plattsburgh Recreation Facebook the last couple of days. They really are trying to highlight and accentuate what we have available and what you can do. So they've done a piece on the Katyville Rec Park, they've done a piece on the beach and how it's available for kayaking, et cetera. So I think the Facebook Live kind of falls right into that. One of the things we had also discussed was the possibility of maybe doing some hand sanitizer dispensers, but there may be some difficulties with that. We had a lengthy discussion about that.
Personally, I'm concerned about that a lot.
Yeah.
More so on the B&G group, and what people will say about hand sanitizer, and that's why people are encouraged to wash with soap,
Yeah.
is people will often double or triple the amount of hand sanitizer versus when you're washing your hands, because people will they just goo. It only takes like about that much or whatever.
About a dime size
Yeah.
on their hand and rub it in.
Did we
should just
along
make
that
sure
line,
that-
after you do that, couldn't you put that same information and, you know, the guidelines for how the park should be used in the paper or other?
Yeah, I think we need
And
to
they've
do,
done a good job of that, Tom, too. That's on the Facebook page.
yeah, I think they need to do a campaign and we'll do some education
Yeah.
because other municipalities are gonna be hopefully doing it around the same time. And tomorrow, I have that county task force group that I'm on for the COVID response. We're gonna talk about how do we share some of the countywide information and hopefully Peru and Beekmantown and Skyler Falls and all the other munis will do it at the same time because, you know, we don't wanna push the problem onto someone else either. We wanna kind of be in concert with one another.
And you're good at getting back to some best practices. This would be a great time for this area, especially for parks to have best practices.
And
What were we gonna say, Meg? I didn't wanna.
Just wanna make sure whatever needs to be done to open playgrounds that requires buildings and grounds staff, maybe let's check with Tim and see what his timeline is
Yeah.
like, rather than saying it's gonna be open
Yeah.
on Monday.
No, I
And
agree.
let him drive that
Yep.
timeline.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
No.
Yeah. Or maybe what the response even has to be too is, over the course of the next several days, you're going to start seeing things open. You know, if you see a swing, you know, you can use it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff, so, yeah.
yeah, so I think it's awful hard to look at it today and then have it all ready for Monday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fairness.
With all the other stuff they have.
And they did, they started back up the Fitness for Life, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they are at Main Courier.
Yes, I happened to see the group in outside, the
The
chairs.
Shooter outside, but inside is available,
Yeah.
they have it marked out.
The rentals is something that we are gonna be holding off for a little bit while longer.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
that's probably the bigger concern is, you know, the cleaning and stuff, so.
The other concern that we had is they did open up programs. The programs that they have available, which I think ended up being 4 or 5, whatever the final number was, they filled up in 3 days.
That's
So
great.
we challenge them to try to maybe find something else that they could do, or if they could double down on some of those programs, because we were very cautious, the programs that they picked and choose so that they could, you know, follow social distancing guidelines. But we did challenge them to maybe double down on some of those and maybe look at some other things. I did volunteer to do that.
Instructing?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
We
I think the
recommend-
word's in it, bad admittance, so we can be bad at it.
We recommend,